Get him! Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Home Health and Hobby. I'm Chef Nicholas J, and I want to show you a few things in this video. This video is going to be a little bit longer than your average YouTube video, so I just wanted that to be as a disclaimer beforehand, before you get carried away and find out that the rest of this video may not bring what it is you're looking for. Throughout this video, I'm going to show you just a few tips and talking points on my garden, my herb garden. I'm going to discuss with you different things that come to mind throughout my tomato roasting process that I take here in the kitchen whenever I make a simple tomato sauce. Now, when I say it's bland, it means that it's not really doctored up with a lot of other ingredients other than just a few basic things. We're gonna add some garlic, gonna add some thyme, some rosemary, and some neutral flavored oil, and an onion for 1/2 sheet pans worth of Roma tomatoes. So I hope you guys find good information in this video. If you want to learn how to make a quick tomato sauce without any of the discussion, then go ahead and look at my homepage on YouTube for my quick tip video, how to make roasted tomato sauce. Stick around, guys. I hope you learned something, and I've got some what I hope is great content for you guys to enjoy here. I like growing tomatoes, just not very good at it, but I'm getting better every year. If you guys have the same problem, keep at it. You'll do just fine. This is probably my 5th year, and this is the most tomatoes I've ever gotten. In one handful at one time, I've gotten more than I have collectively ever. Well, there's our prize right there. We'll get these inside and we'll make ourselves a roasted tomato sauce. Alright folks, brought these in from the garden just now. They're wet because it's been raining out there. Interjection real quick. Forgive the sound here and the dishwasher beneath me. I kind of got all wonky on my schedule. But the seed stock, I guess, from these wouldn't surprise me if they're from Monsanto. But they're Ferry Morris seeds, and they are the Roma VF variety of tomato. I got these because the Roma variety because I wanted to have a nice sauce making tomato, which is what we're gonna do here. We got some organic store-bought grape tomatoes here. We're gonna take these, we're gonna bolster this sauce here. We're gonna cut them in half, get all the pieces out, but first let's get, when I say pieces, I mean little blemishes like that. Let's get these into the water here. Let them sit, get some dirt off of them. Alright, these have been soaking for a little bit. No allotted amount of time. Pick off anything, put them back in the water. Cut it in half, see what's in it. Looks okay. Onto there, I've got a towel beneath my hands right here just to blot off any of the water or liquid, so that we can have a dry tomato when they go into the oven. Now on Romas here, I don't know if you can make this out, but there's a little groove here that goes along the side. If you cut down through that groove, you're gonna get a solid cut right there. What we want is to have this pulp exposed. That way, when we put it in the oven, the liquid can evaporate off of it. Now we're cutting it in half, as I mentioned earlier, for 2 reasons. One, to allow as much moisture in it as possible to come out in the oven, and 2, to check for spots like we just saw. so you know, just because they look like this does not mean they're bad. The grocery stores they only use a certain grade of tomato. They use a higher grade of appearance tomato, which does not mean that it's better. It's just that it looks better, more appetizing, and people are more likely to buy it compared to one that looks like these. These are perfectly normal, all natural, safe to eat, and they are just a little bit discolored, which is a normal thing. They are getting the same things out of the commercial fields, and they are selling those to like sauce companies. Hunt's, for example. Hunt's is a large purchaser of tomatoes, and when they make their products, they're making a processed and finished product, or a semi-finished product that is a staple in many American homes as an ingredient in many different dishes. So I would venture to say, up to what I've just told you is fact, but what I would venture to say, and this is just my opinion, is that the vast majority of what is being consumed or being grown in commercial fields probably outnumbers products that look really, really good like you find in the supermarket at probably a ratio of like 10 to 1. So we got a whole roasting pan right here. One more thing before we get moving on to this. Hang on, I want to show you something. This right here is rosemary, as is what is right in front of you as well. I buy these little things for about $4 a piece, and I put them in about that size, and in a year you let them grow and trim them properly. And by properly I mean cutting off less than 1/3 the amount of leaves that it has in total at one time. But these things are pretty hardcore. They're pretty durable and whatnot. And underneath it, I have right here some more thyme that I grew, I think maybe 9 months ago. It hasn't gotten much bigger, but when it does take off, if you look right here, is pretty big. This is probably 200% bigger, and it's doing really well right here with about 3/4 of a day's worth of sunshine, and it's not direct out in the field kind of sunshine. It's kind of protected a little bit by the elements right here as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a few of these sprigs of thyme from the end right here. It's more tender usually. You should ideally go at it with scissors. And then the ends of the rosemary as well. Just like so. Alright, so back into the kitchen here. We've got our rosemary and thyme, and we're going to need some olive oil. We're going to need our mortal and pestle, my wife calls it. We're going to need neutral flavored oil. Into the bowl, just a little bit of oil just to get us started. Put our rosemary in there. Rosemary is pretty strong. I'm not going to go all the way with that. I'm going to take the leaves of the thyme here, and this is just a general, I don't really know what kind of thyme this is, I forgot. If you want to grow some herbs, they're pretty carefree. I don't know how they do in cold because I live in Florida and I don't know what cold is. It's done well for me so far. We just want the leaves. We don't want any of the woody stem. Cool thing that you can do with this is if you have this and you're barbecuing, you don't really have, if you want some extra added layer of subtle flavor, summertime, springtime comes out time for barbecue and grilling season. You throw this right on the hot coals, and the smoke from it will permeate the meat in a or vegetable, whatever you're cooking on the on your grill, and it just is an extra added layer of flavor that really brings out that time of the season, and very fancy too. It's very enjoyable whenever you're out there grilling it. The smoke gets up in your face and you smell it. It's just the people who are grilling next door are going to want to come over to your barbecue. Break these up. piece of garlic. Notice I haven't even gotten out a cutting board yet. And for this, I'm actually not going to get a cutting board out. So this is another one of those subtle differences between what most people think about cooking. Those who cook already realize, those who like to cook, that is, just, you know, quick break up like that, cut up those pieces, just barely, not even slicing, we're just doing a rough chop. I have absolutely no, alright, so rough chop garlic in no particular size. I would recommend not doing this if you don't have the garlic. If you have garlic, you should start with that as a base flavor if you don't have these other ingredients, and then build out from there. You can use one or the other or both of the rosemary and thyme, as I am doing here, using both. Don't have a mortar and pestle, or a mortar and pestle, then you can just chop this up with a knife and just put it in the oil, let it sit for a few minutes. Now, straight to here. Remember the stems that we had? We're gonna put those on there and let it cook with everything else, but we're gonna pick them out later. You know, it's just using everything we take, getting the most out of everything. Just drizzle this right here, get out every little bit so there's no waste. Set aside. No better tool than your hands, folks. You are remembering to use clean hands, aren't you? Good. We're gonna take a peeled onion. We can go ahead and peel those up just a little bit if you want. The more you peel them, the darker these are gonna get faster, giving it a more of a roasted flavor to it. If you're not a fan of that, and you can tell the difference, then leave the quarters unpicked apart like that. Into a medium oven on the top rack, and medium is 350 to 375 depending on your oven. Between 350 and 400. It has been 45 minutes to about an hour. Smells incredible. We'll let that cool slightly. We're going to put it in the blender carafe. Alright, so remember this is unseasoned. So I've let this cool slightly, just be careful. Don't burn yourself on the pan. We're going to go take this into a blender. We're going to leave the sprigs that we put on the side on the pan, and it's not going to be part of this. We're going to take it, we're going to taste it for seasoning. Remember, this is unseasoned. Ooh, very sweet. Okay, so this is our finished tomato sauce here, and as you can see, it makes great sauce consistency. That's why I like Roma's, because they are already a lower moisture tomato. There's more meat to moisture ratio when they're grown. But this is how I make my basic tomato sauce. If you wanted to change it up and go a little bit beyond what I did, you can also add in diced up carrots and celery as well to the roasting process. You'll want to go 2 parts onions to 1 part carrot to 1 part celery, your standard French mirepoix. If you're looking to go Louisiana Creole Cajun style, you'll want to add in, well, I guess technically it's Creole style, pretty sure that's right, that uses tomato sauces, and the other Cajun does not. You can go Louisiana style, I'll call it, with onions, bell peppers, and celery. Same ratios, 2 onion, 1 celery, 1 green bell pepper. And that will get you a more of a Louisiana style. This is just the basis right here. It's salted, seasoned, ready to go. You can add in your standard Italian herbs to make a pizza sauce with it. You can use it to cook ground beef and make yourself a spaghetti sauce. The Possibilities are endless. Anywhere you want to take or use a tomato sauce from scratch instead of getting it out of a jar, make it yourself at home for this delicious tomato sauce that you cannot get out of a jar. I've been Nicholas J. Stick around next time for another episode of Home Health and Hobby.